Albert Einstein died with a secret. A secret your college professors won't mention. A secret that physics textbooks deliberately ignore. For over 70 years, they've focused on his equation, E equals mc squared. But they never told you what Einstein really believed, what he was really searching for, and why his deepest convictions were identical to the teachings of ancient mystery schools, teachings reserved only for the highest initiates. You probably know Einstein as the physics genius, the man who revolutionized our understanding of the universe. But what if I told you that Einstein harbored a secret philosophy, a worldview he rarely discussed publicly, a belief so profound that he called it a cosmic religious feeling, and that this belief was practically indistinguishable from the teachings passed down in 33rd-degree Masonic lodges? Don't get me wrong, Einstein wasn't a Freemason. At least there's no documentary evidence that he was ever initiated into any lodge, but that makes it even more intriguing. Because how do you explain that a self-taught scientist arrived at the same conclusions that the masters of the mystery schools took centuries to codify? The answer is hidden in letters Einstein wrote, letters that academic institutions would rather not discuss, because they reveal an Einstein completely different from the one you were taught about. If you're watching this right now, you're different. You don't accept the watered-down version they gave you in school. You seek the truth behind the facade. And that's exactly what I'm about to reveal. In 1936, Einstein wrote something that would change everything for those who are truly paying attention. He said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Whoever does not know it and can no longer wonder, no longer marvel, is as good as dead, and his eyes are dimmed." Read that again. The most beautiful experience is the mysterious. That doesn't sound like physics. That sounds like mysticism, and that's exactly what Einstein was trying to communicate. But hold on, because what I'm about to reveal next will connect dots you never imagined. Einstein didn't arrive at these conclusions alone. He had a mentor, not a physics professor, but a philosopher who'd been dead for over 200 years, Baruch Spinoza, a thinker so dangerous that he was excommunicated from his own Jewish community in 1656, expelled for revealing truths that religious leaders didn't want the people to know. Spinoza developed a philosophy so radical that he was called an atheist by some and God-intoxicated by others. His central idea was simple but devastating. God and nature are the same thing. There is no separation between the Creator and creation. Everything that exists is a manifestation of a single, infinite substance. This was practically identical to Hermetic teachings, to Gnostic texts, to the traditions of the mystery schools that had existed since ancient Egypt. And Einstein was obsessed with Spinoza. In 1929, a New York rabbi named Herbert Goldstein sent Einstein a telegram with a direct question: "Do you believe in God?" Einstein's response was recorded and archived, and it's devastating to the narrative you've been taught. Einstein responded in 50 words that changed everything. "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with fates and actions of human beings." Did you catch what he said? Einstein didn't believe in the God of organized religions. He believed in something much older, something that the initiates of the mystery schools called the great architect of the universe, something that the Hermetics called the All, something that the texts of the Kybalion describe as the universal mind. And here's the point that no one wants you to realize. This vision of God, this understanding of divinity as an impersonal cosmic force that manifests through the mathematical laws of the universe, is exactly what is taught in the highest degrees of Freemasonry. 33rd-degree Masons don't worship a personal God. They contemplate the great architect, the intelligence that designed the cosmos through sacred geometry, through perfect mathematical proportions, through immutable laws that govern everything from the movement of atoms to the orbits of galaxies. And Einstein, without ever being initiated, arrived at exactly the same conclusion. How is this possible? The answer will shock you. And I need you to pay close attention because what I'm about to say changes everything. The truth is, this knowledge doesn't belong to any secret society. This knowledge is universal. It's encoded in the very structure of reality. And anyone who observes nature with truly open eyes, anyone who studies the mathematical laws of the universe with genuine reverence, inevitably arrives at the same conclusions. The ancients called this philosophia perennis, the perennial philosophy, the eternal truth that transcends all cultures, all eras, all religions. Pythagoras discovered it through numbers, Plato through ideal forms, the alchemists through the transformation of matter, the Hermetics through the 7 universal principles, and Einstein rediscovered this truth through physics. But why has this been suppressed? Why didn't anyone teach you this in school? The answer is disturbing, because if you knew that you could access this truth directly, without intermediaries, without institutions, without authorities telling you what to think, you would be free. And true freedom threatens every system of control. Let me show you something that will connect all of this in a way you'll never forget. Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life searching for one thing, a unified field theory, a single equation that would explain all the forces of the universe, a formula that would connect gravity to electromagnetism, the infinitely large to the infinitely small. Why would a physicist spend 3 decades pursuing this unification? The official answer is that it would be more mathematically elegant, but the real answer is much deeper. And it's connected directly to the teachings of the mystery schools. Einstein believed, no. Einstein knew that the universe is fundamentally one, that the apparent diversity we see is an illusion, that behind all forms, all phenomena, all the particles, there exists a single underlying reality. And you know what's even more impressive? This is exactly the central doctrine of the Hermetic texts. The first Hermetic principle states, the all is mind, the universe is mental, as above, so below. Everything is one. Multiplicity emerges from unity and returns to unity. Einstein was seeking to prove mathematically what the ancients knew intuitively. Coincidence? You can call it that, if it makes you feel comfortable. But I'm going to show you it's not. And then you decide. In 1951, Einstein wrote a letter. That was discovered decades later, a letter of condolence to the family of his friend, Michael Besson. In it, he describes his vision of the universe in a way that would make any Hermetic master weep with recognition. He wrote, "A human being is part of a whole, called by us, the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical illusion of his consciousness. This illusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us." Did you catch that? Einstein said that the separation between you and the universe is an optical illusion, that we are prisoners of this illusion, and that the task of the human being is to free themselves from this prison. This isn't physics. This is enlightenment. This is what Buddhists call awakening, what Vedantins call moksha, what Gnostics called gnosis, what 33rd degree Masonic lodges call receiving the light. And Einstein was teaching this through science. But wait, because Einstein went even further in that same letter. He wrote about Besson's death with words that defy everything that scientific materialism teaches. He said, "Now he has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. That signifies nothing." For us convinced physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Einstein said that time is an illusion, that past, present, and future exist simultaneously, that death isn't real in the absolute sense, that his friend hasn't ceased to exist. He's just in another region of the space-time continuum. Is that quantum physics? Or is it mysticism? The answer is, they're the same thing. And Einstein knew it. Now tell me, why do universities focus only on E equals mc squared? Why do physics textbooks completely ignore this spiritual dimension of Einstein's thinking? Why has no one taught you that the greatest scientist of the 20th century had a philosophy practically identical to the ancient mystery schools? The answer is simple and disturbing. Because it threatens scientific materialism. It threatens the narrative that science and spirituality are enemies. It threatens the worldview that keeps you asleep and obedient. But Einstein knew the truth, and he tried to tell us, repeatedly, in letters, in essays, in interviews, but always carefully, always subtly, because he knew that being too explicit could destroy his scientific credibility. In 1939, he wrote an essay that few have read, published in the journal Philosophy of Science. In it, Einstein coined the term cosmic religious feeling and defined it as the deepest spiritual experience available to the human being. He wrote, "The cosmic religious feeling is the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research. Only those who realize the immense efforts and, above all, the devotion, without which pioneer work in theoretical science cannot be achieved, are able to grasp the strength of the emotion out of which alone such work can emerge." Did you understand what he said? The strongest motivation for science isn't curiosity. It's not the desire for fame or money. It's a religious feeling, a spiritual experience, a reverence before the mystery of the cosmos. And that experience, that cosmic religious feeling, is practically indistinguishable from what the initiates of the ancient traditions describe. After years of meditative practices and initiation rituals, but Einstein arrived there, through physics, through mathematics, through the contemplation of the laws that govern the cosmos. This means something profound that I need you to really understand. It means that the truth is accessible to everyone, not just to the initiates of secret societies. It means that anyone who observes the universe with the right eyes, with the appropriate reverence, can experience what the mystics of all eras have experienced. And maybe that's why this aspect of Einstein is suppressed. Because if people knew that enlightenment is available through the study of nature, through the contemplation of the stars, and the equations that govern them, they wouldn't need intermediaries. They wouldn't need churches. They wouldn't need gurus. They wouldn't need anyone to tell them what is true. Are you starting to see the pattern here? The truth that they don't want you to know. But wait, because I haven't told you the most shocking part yet. And you need to hear this before you form your opinion. Einstein had connections with people who definitely were initiates of occult traditions, and these connections profoundly influenced his thinking. In 1930, Einstein met in person with Ralph Emerson, the Indian poet, Nobel laureate, a man deeply versed in the mystical traditions of the East, in the Upanishads, in the Vedanta, in the philosophy that teaches that Brahman, the ultimate reality, is identical to Atman, the individual consciousness. Their conversations were recorded, published, and reveal an Einstein that few know. In these conversations, Einstein debated the nature of reality with Emerson. The central question was, does reality exist? Independently of whether there is someone to observe it, or is consciousness somehow necessary for the existence of the world? Emerson defended the mystical view that consciousness and the universe are inseparable, that reality, as we know it, arises from the interaction between mind and matter. And Einstein, the great advocate of scientific objectivity, admitted that he couldn't completely refute this view. Think about that for a moment. The physicist who created the theory of relativity, who redefined our understanding of space and time, was seriously considering that consciousness may be more fundamental than matter. decades later. Quantum physics would prove that the observer affects the outcome of the experiment, that particles behave differently depending on whether they are observed or not. Einstein foresaw this, and he was willing to consider the mystical implications. This goes against everything that scientific materialism preaches. And perhaps that's why these conversations are rarely mentioned in physics courses. But there's more, much more, and you need to hear this. Einstein also corresponded with Wolfgang Pauli, another genius of quantum physics. Pauli was deeply interested in Carl Jung and the nature of the collective unconscious. Pauli believed that quantum physics and Jungian psychology pointed to the same underlying reality. And Einstein took these conversations seriously, because he also sensed that there was something deeper behind the mathematics, something that connected mind and matter in ways that materialistic science couldn't explain. There are also the letters that Einstein exchanged with scientists about the role of intuition in scientific discovery. Einstein repeatedly stated that his greatest discoveries didn't come from logical reasoning, but from sudden insights, flashes of understanding that he could only describe as near mystical experiences. He once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Einstein was telling us that intuition, that ability to know directly, without the mediation of logical thought, is more fundamental than reason. This is exactly what the mystery schools teach, that there are forms of knowledge that transcend the intellect, that the deepest truth is experienced, not thought. Now, let me show you the most revealing connection of all. The connection that few can see because it requires you to let go of everything you've been taught. The 33rd degree Masons are taught that there is a hidden order in the universe, a mathematical harmony that permeates all of creation. They study sacred geometry, the golden ratio, the number phi, the patterns that repeat from the atom to the solar system, from the structure of DNA to the spiral of galaxies. This ratio, 1:618, appears in nautilus shells, in hurricanes, in the arrangement of sunflower seeds, in the structure of spiral galaxies, in the human body, everywhere. The ancients called this the divine signature, the proof that there is an intelligence behind creation, the great architect of the universe leaving his mark on everything that exists. And Einstein, in his quest for the unified field theory, was essentially doing the same thing, seeking the hidden order behind the apparent diversity, the fundamental mathematics that governs all reality. The difference is that Einstein used differential equations, where the ancients used symbols. He used tensors where the Hermetics used metaphors. But the search was the same. The truth was the same. Einstein once said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible." Think about it. Why can the laws of physics be described by mathematics? Why do abstract equations predict the behavior of atoms and galaxies with perfect precision? Because, as Einstein sensed, and as the ancients knew, the universe is mathematics. Reality is geometry. Matter is vibration frozen into specific patterns. And this truth is what Einstein called the cosmic religious feeling. It's the recognition that the universe isn't an accident, that the laws of physics aren't arbitrary, that there is an order, a beauty, an intelligence behind everything that exists. And this recognition, this direct experience of the cosmic order, is what transforms a person. It's what mystics call enlightenment, what Masons call receiving the light, what Einstein simply practiced every day in his work. 99% of people will never hear this. They will continue believing that Einstein was just a brilliant physicist, that he had no spiritual dimension, that science and mysticism are opposites. But you're here, listening to this, because something in you knows there's more. Something in you always knew that reality is deeper than you were taught, and that something is what the ancients called the divine spark, the part of you that never forgot where it came from, You've just discovered what they hide. The greatest scientist of the 20th century was also one of the greatest mystics. He just used a different language. But the truth he sought, and that he found, is the same truth that seekers of all eras have found. Truths like these are suppressed because they threaten power structures. They threaten the artificial division between science and spirituality. They threaten the narrative that you need intermediaries to access the truth. When you click Super Thanks, you're not paying for a video. You're saying that truth matters, that this kind of knowledge should continue being revealed. Despite all the pressure to keep it hidden, it's your statement. It's you saying, I am a seeker of truth. The truth is that Einstein left us a legacy much greater than his equations. He left us a map to the deepest experience available to the human being. That map says, look at the universe with reverence, study its laws with devotion, contemplate the mathematics of creation with genuine admiration, and you will experience something that words cannot describe. Something that mystics of all eras have tried to communicate, something that is available to you, now, in this moment. It's not necessary to be initiated into any secret society. It's not necessary to go through elaborate rituals or Masonic degrees. All that's necessary is to look at the night sky and really see. Realize that the same laws that govern the stars govern the atoms in your body. That you are made of the same matter as the galaxies. That you are the universe experiencing itself. That you are a finite expression of the infinite. That is the cosmic religious feeling. That is what Einstein experienced when he worked on his equations. And that is what he tried to teach us, in the subtext, in the letters, in the essays that few have read. Now you know what 99% of people will never know. You know that science and spirituality are not enemies. They are two paths to the same mountain. Two languages describing the same reality. And Einstein proved it with his life. The next time someone tells you that science and faith are incompatible, remember Einstein. Remember the cosmic religious feeling. Remember that the greatest genius of the 20th century was also a spiritual seeker, a contemplative soul who found the sacred in mathematics, the divine in equations. And remember that this truth is available to you, not in secret societies, not in occult rituals, but in the simple contemplation of the universe that surrounds you, in genuine AW before the mystery of existence. Controversial, isn't it? Did I exaggerate at any point? Do you agree that Einstein was more than just a physicist, that he possessed a mystical dimension that has been deliberately suppressed? Comment truth or exaggeration. I'll be responding to everyone in the first 2 hours. And tell me, have you ever experienced what Einstein called the cosmic religious feeling? A moment of absolute reverence before the mystery of existence. An instant when you felt the unity of all things, when the separation between you and the universe seemed like an illusion. If this video made you think, if it showed you something you didn't know, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Because next week, I'm going to reveal another secret of Einstein's that they definitely didn't teach you in school. The letter he wrote about the nature of time, and why he believed that past, present, and future exist simultaneously. That death is an illusion as real as the separation between you and the stars. Until the next video, and remember, the truth is hidden in plain sight. You just need eyes to see.